Good morning, seventh grade remotes. This will be fast today. Real quick, amendments 11 through 15, need to go on your amendment sheet. That is once again, and this is the fourth video after this on separate from your notebook. Make sure you have an entire different sheet of paper. If you want to have it as a Google Doc, that's fine, because you will turn that in with your study guide when we get finished with all this, okay? So we will do amendments 11 through 15. We will do a quiz on those tomorrow. You need to do your 1 through 10 amendment quiz today. It will be attached in Google Classroom with your notes today, okay? You already have all these written down, or you at least have these in Google Classroom. You could have written them down. We should maybe finish Article 1 notes today, so we'll probably start Article 2 tomorrow. Individuals cannot sue the states is amendment number 11. Amendment number 12 deals with the election of president and vice president. Used to basically just vote them all on the same ballot, and whoever finished first would become president, and whoever finished second would become vice president. And so that way you would have two people basically that were running against each other that would become president and vice president. And so then in 1800, when Jefferson and Burr tied, and Burr was supposed to be Jefferson's vice president, they actually switched this. And so now when you vote for the president, you're voting for him or her and his or her running mate for vice president. 13th Amendment was passed after the Civil War. It abolished slavery. To abolish means to get rid of. So if you put get rid of slavery or no more slavery or something on the quiz, that'll be an acceptable answer, just something that gets the idea across. Okay. The 14th Amendment is equal rights for all citizens, regardless of race. As long as you are born in the United States, but according to the 14th Amendment, you're a United States citizen with equal rights. And the 15th Amendment gave freed slaves voting, full voting, what the word is suffrage, full voting and suffrage rights. So 13 and 14 and 15 all deal with post-Civil War America, where we were making new rules and amendments to deal with people that had been enslaved and set free. So there are your amendments 11 through 15. Okay, so now obviously you're back to your regular notebook. This is where we got in class. Like I said, you may have already got this written down because I sent the whole section of notes already. And so if you have, that's perfectly fine. Okay, but a few more things. Article 1 requires a census to be taken every 10 years. Obviously, I haven't changed my PowerPoint presentation. It should say the most recent one was in 2020, and the next one's in 2030. But it's basically just a count of the population is the idea behind a census. And it helps with where to distribute tax money in whatever. If there are more people in one area than the other, they're going to get funds a certain way that are different. So there you go. I fixed it. In 2010, there were 308 million people in the United States. We expect there to be more this time. Obviously, they finished the census last year, but it takes a while to tabulate the results. It also goes to the House of Representatives, how many representatives each state gets. Your essay question on the test is how a bill becomes a law. It is 10 steps. I will, as we get closer to the test, provide you with an outline. Okay, but basically, you have the House of Representatives and you have the Senate. And bills can start in either or, except for revenue, which you learned yesterday, it has to start in the House. But for our purposes, it could be either or. Okay, and it goes in front of all of them. Okay, then it goes down to a committee. For instance, if we were doing a law on speed limits, it would go to the Committee of Transportation. Okay, and then it would go down to a subcommittee, which is an even smaller group of people who have expertise or are specialists in one specific area, so highway safety laws and stuff. Okay, they can delete the bill altogether, they can make changes, or they can just approve it as is. So it goes to the whole House, then in committee, then into subcommittee, and then back out to committee, and then back out to the whole House. Okay, then they argue about it. People get up there and be like, I don't want this law because blah, 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 blah. And then the other person gets up there and is like, I do want this law because obviously they would say something else, but you get the idea. Okay, and all it takes is a majority to pass the bill. And so 51 senators or, whatever half of 538 is for the representatives, half plus one. And so once that happens, it's not a law. It has to go all the way to the other house and go through the same process. Whole house, committee, subcommittee, back to committee, back to the whole house, argue, pass it. Then, if they pass it, they may have made changes the other house didn't make either, and so they don't match. And so they've got to redo it all again, and they get what's called a joint committee together with people from both the Senate and the House, and they argue over one final version. It's very complicated, and it's very complicated on purpose. So that way people can't just come in passing laws because they're mad that some red car caught him off in traffic and like, we're banning red cars and whatever. That it's slow on purpose, okay? But once the same version of the bill is passed in both houses, it goes to the president. The president can do four things. He can sign the bill, or she, if the president's a woman, sign the bill and it immediately passes. He can veto it, stamp it, and say, no, I do not want this bill. Kill it dead. Okay? He cannot act at all. And if Congress is in session, it becomes a law. Okay? He just leaves it sitting on his desk. Or he cannot act at all, and if Congress is out of session, that's called a pocket veto. It kills it. Okay? Why would he do that? Well, because some presidents don't want to tick off half the country that are possibly going to be voters for them. And so they are like, well, I didn't have anything to do with that. So they just leave it sitting there. Okay, so what do I put on the test is the question, because you have to list all four of these. You have to put one, sign it. Two, he can veto it. The fourth one, pocket veto, is all you have to put. But on three, you pretty much have to say what it says. Do nothing, becomes law in 10 days if Congress is in session. Okay, they don't have to be in any specific order, but those are just the four you need to put. Okay, if he vetoes a bill, whether that's a regular veto or a pocket veto, it goes back to Congress. They can override his veto, but this time they have to have 2/3. So 67 senators and whatever 2/3 of 435 is. Okay, after the law is passed, whether the president agrees with it or not, it is now his job to enforce that law. Okay, if it looks complicated on this flow chart, and this one's actually a California flow chart. If it looks complicated, like I said earlier, it's because it is, and it's meant to be. Okay, there are the amendments, and then after that are review questions. You do not have to write these review questions down. Those are just to show, as it says there, what do we know? Okay, and that is the entire, and if you can answer all the questions on these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slides of questions, those are your test questions. Okay, and so make sure you know what the answers to all those questions are. The test is still at least a couple weeks away, but it's never too early to see what you know. Okay? Okay, make sure you take the 1 through 10 quiz tomorrow. Make sure you know 1 through 15. I'm sorry. Let me say that again. My bad. Make sure you take the 1 through 10 quiz today. Today is the 1 through 10 quiz. Okay? And that also counts as your attendance for today. Make sure you study for the 1 through 15 quiz for tomorrow. Amendments 1 through 15 quiz is tomorrow. Okay? All right. Mask up, stay safe. See you guys later. Bye.